Hello, my name's Jennifer Bell and I'm the author of Wonderscape, which I'm going to read for you today. Wonderscape is the story of three children who find themselves trapped 400 years in the future, lost in an epic in-reality adventure game called the Wonderscape. They must call on the help of some unlikely historical heroes to play their way home before time runs out. And I'm going to read the opening of the story for you today, where the three characters first meet each other and embark on their adventure. It was early morning and Arthur was already running late for school when the gnomes exploded. Racing past his neighbours' houses, he'd just cornered a road on Peace Point Estate when he came to the old cottage at number 27. Without warning, there was a loud bang and a barrage of brightly coloured missiles came whizzing out of the front garden in all directions. What the? Shielding himself with his school blazer, Arthur ducked behind 27's garden fence and peeked through a gap to try to see what was going on. And there it was. For some bizarre reason, the owner's large collection of grinning, ruddy-cheeked garden gnomes, whether sitting on toadstools, pushing wheelbarrows, or fishing from ponds, was spontaneously exploding, one by one. Arthur could only guess they were part of some malfunctioning pest deterrent system, but before he had a chance to investigate, pressure built inside his ears, and with an almighty, ground-trembling boom, all the windows in the building shattered and the front door shot off its hinges and spun across the lawn. There wasn't time to run. A shockwave with the force of a swinging punch bag walloped Arthur in the chest, knocking all the air from his lungs. He flew backwards and tumbled into the street, wincing as the contents of his rucksack jabbed him in the ribs. Oomph! Ow! He landed on his side, with his cheek pressed against a cold metal drain cover and the taste of blood filling his mouth. Ugh! Pain shot through his jaw. Slowly, he moved his hand up and gave it a rub. At least his limbs were all working. Despite a worrying ringing in his ears, he got to his feet. Most of his neighbours' driveways were empty, so he assumed they'd gone to work. He wiped his grazed hands clean on the bottom of his shirt and took a closer look at number 27. The cottage had the same red brick walls and mossy roof tiles as all the others on the estate, but was separated by an overgrown hedge on one side and a dingy alleyway on the other. Strange, the building showed no signs of fire damage or smoke. Arthur tried to remember if he'd covered the topic of shockwaves in his physics lessons last term. Science was his favourite subject at school, so he normally paid attention. "Hello," called a well-spoken voice, making Arthur jump. "Did you see that?" A tall girl with braided turquoise hair stood waving at Arthur from the alleyway at the side of the house. Her school uniform was accessorised with a cross-body leather handbag and a lace-trimmed socks that poked above the edges of her brogues. Arthur recognised her instantly, although he didn't know what she was doing there. Cecily Madaki didn't live on Peace Point Estate. None of the popular kids did. "Are you all right?" she asked, striding towards him. "What just happened?" Arthur shuffled his feet against the pavement. He'd never spoken to Cecily before, and talking to new people always made him feel nervous. He watched as she turned the corner of the fence, her pleated grey skirt swishing around her knees. All he really knew about her was that her parents were celebrity hairdressers, which was probably why she changed her hairstyle all the time. Last week, she'd had a candy floss pink afro mohawk. "I asked, 'Are you all right?'" she repeated, coming to a stop next to him. "You fell over." "You saw that?" "No, but it says sanitary backwards on the side of your face in the same writing as it does down there." She signalled to the drain cover at the edge of the road. Great. He hastily rubbed his cheek. "You don't look hurt," she decided, surveying his uniform. "Are you sure you're okay?" Arthur straightened his shoulders to make his second-hand blazer appear better fitted. He was average height for his age, but scrawnier than most of the boys in his class, which didn't help when he had to wear clothes that were already too big. Just once, he wished he could start the school school year with a new uniform, like everyone else, and not feel so self-conscious. "I'm fine." He glanced back at the house. "I'm not sure what happened. Some sort of explosion?" "That much is obvious," commented a third voice. A petite girl in oil-splattered school trousers and combat boots emerged from behind a couple of wheelie bins. Her long, jet-black hair was worn in a high ponytail. with a chunky fringe covering one half of her face. "Number 27 is abandoned," she told them bluntly, brushing dirt off her knees. "The blast was probably triggered by a burst water pipe." Abandoned? Arthur had seen the girl sitting alone at the back of his geography class a few times, but didn't know who she was. "Where did you hear that?" "Nowhere. My garden backs onto number 27's. She walked over to the gate and surveyed the gnome remains. Her wide hazel eyes were outlined with coal, giving her an intense gaze. "There are never any lights on inside, and the garden looks like a jungle. It's been like that ever since we moved in last summer, but I don't know how long the place was empty before that." Arthur assessed the cottage again. The lawn was overgrown with weeds, and the doorstep was black with grime. Now he thought about it, he'd never actually seen anyone inside. "It's Wren, isn't it?" Cecily asked, scrutinising the girl's face. "Wren Williams? I showed you around school last term. It was your first day." Wren folded her arms, looking unimpressed. "That's right, you're Cecily." Wren Williams, the new girl. Arthur did know who she was after all. He'd heard 2 rumours about Wren. One, that she'd been expelled from her last school for riding a motorbike through the canteen. And 2, that she'd recently had her knuckles tattooed for her 13th birthday. He covertly glanced at her hands to see if it was true. Her nails were bitten short and coated in chipped black varnish. Sure enough, there were 4 dark brown symbols, a heart, club, spade and diamond, staining her skin. "And you are?" Wren asked, glaring at Arthur. He grinned nervously. "Arthur Gillespie, I'm in your geography class." It was just his luck to get stuck talking to 2 of the most intimidating students at school. Normally, he did his best to avoid everyone and keep himself to himself. That way there were fewer questions about his uniform and less chance he'd make a fool of himself. "Well," Cecily said, zipping open her bag, "seeing as no one else is here yet, I suppose one of us should ring the police." She withdrew a phone with a manga-decorated case and tapped at the screen. As she lifted it to her ear, a sad howl drifted over from somewhere inside number 27. Arthur tensed. It sounded like the cry of a dog. "Have you seen any animals near the house?" he asked Wren. "There was a little white dog running around the garden this morning," she admitted, her brows drawing together. "I assumed it was another neighbour's pet. Do you think it's been hurt in the blast?" Cecily lowered her phone. "The operator's putting me—" Her voice tailed off as she heard the howling. "There's something trapped inside. Quick, we have to help it." Without hesitation, she opened the garden gate and began navigating a path through the gnome debris towards the house. "Wait!" Arthur hurried after her. "You can't go inside, it's too dangerous. What if another explosion goes off?" "That's why we need to be quick." "Yes, but—" Arthur's neck stiffened as the dog wailed again, more feebly. The sound tugged on his heart. He couldn't ignore it. He glanced back at Wren, her arms crossed. "Are you coming?" Muttering irritably under her breath, she marched after them. And if you want to find out what happens to Arthur, Wren and Cecily, you'll have to read on yourself.